We do appreciate everybody joining us today to learn more about our dismissal system as well as our Carline. With us today, we have Dr. Brad Owings, who is a retired administrator and colleague and friend. And so I'm actually going to let Brad tell us a little bit about himself before we dig into the actual information.
I am a retired administrator. I retired last year from Springfield Schools. Previous to that, I was in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Previous to that, I was in St. Joseph, and previous to that, I was in West Plains. And so I've been around the state a little bit. But the focus for today is going to be on my time from Poplar Bluff when we adopted KIDaccount as our student dismissal system. So I'm going to start with a little backstory show.
And as Brad is pulling up his PowerPoint presentation, keep in mind if you have any questions for us as panelists, feel free to put those into the chat or into the Q&A session, and we will get those answered for you. Okay,
Yep.
Brad?
So the backstory, I had just finished working in St. Joseph, Missouri. I was moving to Poplar Bluff, and I signed on to be the principal of their 5-6 center, which had 800 students, 400 in fifth grade, 400 in sixth grade, and it was located on the edge of town, the outskirts of town, and they had just started a building project. So they were going to move the high school students to the 5-6 building and move the 5-6 building to the current high school. I like to call it a big game of trading spaces. And basically, they took the 5-6 building, they added a science wing, they added athletic fields, made it a full, complete high school. Whereas before, they were playing sports all over town. And then they took the high school, which was actually a series of 4 buildings and an administration office, and they connected them all with one big addition that included offices for administrators. And so when I was at the 5-6 center, we had some construction going on, but we had about 150 cars that went through our car line. And the way that our system worked was that the kids sat outside on the sidewalk, and the teacher or assistant principal used a bullhorn to call their names. So they had tags hanging in the cards, and they used the bullhorn to call their names. The system was developed by my assistant principal, and my assistant principal, just a little background, I was her fourth principal. She had been there for 3 other principals, and then I came along. And so she had a lot of institutional knowledge about why they did things the way they did things. And she had a hand in creating almost all the systems around there. And so this is her. And if you look closely at that face, that is not someone who wants you messing with their system. And so yeah, we just kept rolling with what they did. So the next year we moved. They finished the construction. I say they finished the construction. They kind of finished the construction. So the remodeled high school had some new construction. At the beginning of the year, we did not have a playground. We did not have a library. Um, I had um, I had I had gotten fourth grade teachers from all over the town in my building, and about half of them had decided this was a good time to either transfer positions or retire. And so about half of my fourth grade, which was, I don't know, 9 or 10 teachers, were brand new. And so I had all that going on. And my enrollment then went from about 800 kids to 1,200 kids. And I forgot what I was going to talk about here, Amanda. What?
Well, you were going to talk about being sprayed by a skunk, so I think that's an important message
Oh,
for
I
us.
skipped that part. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, in addition to having all of that going on, one night I walked out to my car and I got sprayed by a skunk. And I will tell you that getting sprayed by a skunk, there's lots of antidotes or suggestions on the internet on how to take care of getting sprayed by a skunk. So I went home and I immediately did all of that stuff, and I came out smelling great. What they don't tell you on the internet is to not throw your skunk shoes into your closet and shut the door, because then all of your clothes smell like skunk. So,
And then beyond that, I believe you were going to mention that you were one of the largest elementary
wait.
schools
So,
and probably one of our first adopters.
at the time, so our superintendent, when we made the switch, he decided to call us a middle school. We were a fourth, fifth, and sixth grade center. He decided to call us a middle school because intermediate was really a hard word. And so we went with middle school. And I would consider it an elementary. As far as elementaries go, we were the largest in the state. There weren't any Missouri schools bigger than us. Middle schools, there were a couple bigger than us, but 1,200 is a lot for that age group in Missouri. So once we got established, they didn't have the playground or the library, but they did have a car line. And our car line was a long loop with 2 lanes, and we had about 350 cars going through it. We didn't realize that being in the center of town, you're going to have more people who have access to come see you and pick up the kids. And so we were gonna use the same plan we used before. Um, we just knew that we would probably have, I don't know, maybe 75 extra cars. We had 350 cars total, so it was a big deal. And just for reference, this is the aerial view of our school. And the first day we ran the car line, the car stopped down here and they backed all the way up here, 2 lanes, all the way up here, and then it backed around here and around this curve and all the way back here to the road you turn in on, and then all the way back here to the main drag in town, and then all the way back up here. And at times it actually backed up this stoplight. So as you can imagine, we had the police calling us. And so this is what it kind of looked like. This is kids sitting outside. This is, sitting right next to the car lane. And these kids are not listening to the bullhorn. They are having a great time. So the mess. Kids were sitting on the sidewalks. It's August. It's hot on the sidewalk. That sidewalk was hot. If it rained, that became a problem. Our traffic backed up onto the main roads of town, and we dreaded dismissal every single day. We did not want to do that. So we had to come up with a plan. We wanted to get kids off the sidewalk. They're sitting here. It was just a mess. And really the straw that broke the camel's back is we had a parent come through the drop off, and during drop off, she had a heart attack in her car, right? She drove into the car next to her and basically died. Our resource officer was able to get his arm into the window of the car to unlock it, to get the door open, to get her out. And then he started CPR. The paramedics showed up. They shocked her. She came back to life. Hallelujah. But our car line had to change. And just for reference, she had that down here. And when she got here, she drove into some cars. If she had had that heart attack up here, we would have had kids get hurt. And so we knew that something had to change. This is what it looked like for me from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. It was just pretty nerve-wracking every day. So I happened to run into these people, well, not this guy, that's me, these other people at the MAESP conference one spring. I don't remember the year. I think it was maybe 2017. And so I was at Missouri Association of Elementary School Principals Conference. We have a booth there every year. And at that conference, I happened to see a friend of mine. So I also do leadership development for the state of Missouri. And I have several principals that I work with. And one of them was talking to a guy named Keith Petty at the KIDaccount booth. And it just so happened either she was in his wedding or he was in her wedding. Either way, I stopped and talked to them because I knew that we were looking for a solution, and this could be it. And so Keith had a solution in that our kids would be inside. The system would make things easier for our secretaries. And not only that, but when we started dismissal, we would be able to get a head start on the day. So if you'll remember back here, when these kids are coming out, we had 1,200 kids. We did not know all of these kids' names. So we couldn't start our car line until we had kids outside because we didn't know who to tell their car was up. We had to use the bullhorns. And so that was kind of a mess. And so the nice thing about KIDaccount is we were able to start that ahead of dismissal. So we could go out and scan cards and get that started. We Superintendent did pay for it the first year, but the second year, we wanted to try and fund it outside of the district having to pay for it. And so we did use some advertising on the back of our cards. I will tell you that if you are at the end of your year right now looking for ways to spend your money, this would be a good way, or we can help you with finding advertising. But there was resistance. And so my assistant principal said this will never work. It's going to slow us down. I had a couple of other long-term teachers who did Carline. They're like, this is never going to work. It's going to slow us down. And we worked through a couple of glitches, but I would say in the long run, it sped us up. And so we were faster. And the additional thing is that it was safer in that we knew where every kid who went to the Carline, who they went home with, what time they went home, and all of that. So at the end of the day, my assistant principal was happy. And so, in closing, I would just say that I didn't really know how much I need a kid account until I need a kid account. And so, you may think things are running great, but it only takes one glitch for you to realize you need something else. If you're paying for, you are paying for academic programs like um, gosh, Brain Pop, all of these programs that are out there that you're using, they're not getting used every single day. Kid Account will be used every single day by your teachers. And if you want to try it out, if you want to try our office classroom communication piece, we can get you started for a $100 installation fee. Oh, by the way, when I retired, I decided to work for the company because I liked it so much. I forgot to mention that part. So, so, what I was going to do next is roll into a couple of slides just so you can see what our product looks like. That's not what I meant to do. I did not mean to put a new slide in there. My first time on the Zoom. Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about dismissal changes. You probably have secretaries who take calls every day with people wanting to make a change in their dismissal. So what our product does is at the end of the day, every teacher pulls up this screen that has the default way that kids are going home. If there's a change to be made, a person calls into the secretary, they tell them there's a change. The secretary goes into the kids' account, pulls up their calendar, goes into the calendar and types in whatever the change is. And then from there, that gets translated to their end of the day dismissal screen. So at the end of the day, they're going to see that their name is turned red and they're going to have to click on a button and see what the note is. And every kid will know how they're getting home. You may have kids like we had kids that have a difficult schedule with mom 1 week, dad 1 week, or something along those lines. You can add those schedules in ahead of time so that when those changes occur, the kids get notified that that's happening. And then at the end of it all, you have a report that's whenever someone calls in, they've made a change, you have a timestamp record of when that happened. So, Amanda, do you want me to talk any more about like Carline?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead and just show like maybe the 4-point system that we utilize in our car line management. And then of course we'll invite everyone to schedule a demo with you so you can work through the actual process with
Yep.
them.
Okay, so 4-point Carline system, and this is what we used in Poplar Bluff. It's was a lifesaver. We actually did 2 lanes, so we did this times two, but we had a person who went out with either a device, a cell operated iPad or a cell phone, and they would scan cards. Parents would have cards, and then when they scan the card, that would pop up in the classroom, and then the classroom would start sending the kids out. The organizer would put them in order, and then they would get in the car and they're on their way. So just a little bit more detail on that. So we are moving to an app, but when I was doing it, we had a card. It had the student's name with a barcode. When you scan that, it's going to bring up a list of people who are approved to pick up that student. And if you have someone who's not approved, it'll bring that up too. Your scanner just taps who's there to pick them up. If it's the unapproved person, they can tap that person too, and your admin or resource officer will get a notification to let them know they need to have a conversation. You don't need your scanner to have that conversation, so they just keep moving on. When that name pops up, it'll go into the either the classroom or your holding area. And in that situation, the person who's working that room sends those kids out to your organizer, and the organizer puts them in order that they showed up so that they will be able to get in the cars in that order. And then the dismisser checks them off the list. And then again, at the end of the day, you've got a full report with timestamps of who got picked up by who, um, everything you need.
Excellent. And if you have any questions as we go through this, don't hesitate to put those in the chat. We're more than happy to answer those for you from the retired administrative's perspective or from, the employee perspective as well. We do want to invite everyone to visit us at www.kidaccount.com. I'll put that link in the chat there for you so that you can check out more about what we have to offer in addition to our Carline and our dismissal management. But while there, if you want to click on book a demo, you can meet with one of us, Brad or myself, even Kim or Keith. And so you can learn more about that $100 pilot that we have for the remaining school year. If you are ready to go and you want to book directly on our um, calendar, I'm going to go ahead and put that into the chat as well. As soon as I pull that up, I've got a URL here that we'll utilize. And you can use that URL to access our calendar directly and go ahead and book your demo there where we can again discuss getting that pilot rolling for you. Are there any questions that we can answer for you? You can put those in the Q&A or in the chat.
Hey, Amanda, can I do one more thing?
Sure.
I know that one of our visitors is already a current customer.
Okay.
Can I show a little bit about event day for a current customer?
Sure. We would love to do that.
So let me reshare my screen.
And while you're doing that, we do have a question from our visitors that says, do we have to purchase district-wide or can we start with my building first? Of course, we're a modular system. We can actually start at the building level, but and then expand into your whole district. And if you do go district-wide, there's an additional savings that we can provide for you.
Hey, if you are already using our office to classroom communication and you want to keep your secretary happy on days where you have a large influx of parents coming into the building, event day is a great way to do that. For event day, when you have a Valentine's Day party or an end of the year assembly and you have a large number of people coming in, a lot of times what that means is that your secretary has a long line of people waiting for her to sign them in during this event. Well, with our product, you can create a digital way for those people to sign in advance so that your secretary does not have a long line of people stretching out the door on the day of. And the way you do that is you go into our system and you create an event. You're going to put all of your details in. But what you're going to end up doing is sending a link to all of your parents who you're inviting, and they are going to fill in their first name, last name, state, and that will do a, background check against a. Amanda, is that state or is that just national? Which is it?
It encompasses both. It'll run a state and national.
Right. So all of your visitors will have a background check, and so you'll know that ahead of schedule. And then you can, as those come in, you can approve or deny. And when you approve them all, you'll be able to print off a list of badges for them. So you'll have those ready when they come in. You can just hand them to them and they don't have to wait in line. Your secretary can do that when she has a spare moment, not on the day of with everybody standing in front of her. And so that's a great piece. And if you're already using our office classroom communication, we can turn that on for you to use the rest of this year and try it out. And then we can talk about if you want to have that for next year. I just thought that would be important to talk about.
Love that. Absolutely. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions in the chat. So if that's the case, we do want to thank you guys for your time today. Brad, any last words?
Um, no.
Okay, all right. Well, in that case, again, we thank you all. We encourage you to visit us at www.kidaccount.com. Check out what we have to offer. Of course, book that demo so we can get you guys started for that $100 installation fee with the pilot system. And we are excited to move forward. All right. Well, thank you all so much.